0612 local time. The sonar operator stops breathing. A narrow line just appeared on his screen. It's not a merchant ship, not a whale, and not the usual ocean clutter. It's something moving with lethal purpose below the thermal layer. Con sonar, possible subsurface contact, bearing 087. In the Strait of Hormuz, these words are a death sentence for the unwary. The carrier strike group is in one of the tightest waterways on the planet. There is no sea room, no margin for error, and absolutely no time to prey. The hunter has just become the hunted, and the billion-dollar target is right in the crosshairs. Sierra 3 continues to edge toward the carrier's route, creeping into a better geometry one careful degree at a time. The tactical officer traces 3 lines with a grease pencil, one contact to the northeast, one farther southeast, and one crossing inward. It's no longer just 3 boats. It's a coordinated shape. They're building angles, he says. The captain nods and orders the team to box the 3rd contact. The Seahawk banks left and drops lower, its crew working without chatter. They know the 3rd submarine is the one trying to get clever, but the 2nd one is the ghost that keeps them up at night. New buoy feeds begin painting the water in layers of sound. You hear the merchant screws from distant lanes and the reverberation from the shallow bottom. But underneath it all, faint but distinct, is Sierra 3. The library updates, and the confidence level rises to a certainty. Iranian origin diesel-electric profile. Then a 2nd match. Then a 3rd. 3 submarines on 3 separate bearings, all maneuvering around the strike group's approach corridor. The message is transmitted to the carrier. Probable Iranian submarine activity. Coordinated positioning. Outside, the giant ship looks calm, but below the surface, the hunt is on. Suddenly, the operator at the far console raises a hand. Sierra 2 just gave a transient. The room goes dead still. What kind? A short metallic thud followed by silence. That sound could be many things, but in this moment, it usually means one thing: a tube door cycle. It could be internal movement, or it could be a crew shifting from a transit posture to an attack posture. No one says the word torpedo, but nobody ignores it either. The captain speaks in an even tone, ordering the information passed to the carrier. Do not overcall, but do not ignore the uncertainty. This is the discipline of the high seas. The report lands on the carrier with the weight of lead. Triple subsurface picture active. 1 contact crossing the track. A 2nd contact slowing with possible transients consistent with weapon prep. The carrier doesn't flinch, it simply tightens the machine around itself. 1 escort on the starboard side increases speed, widening the anti-submarine screen. Another destroyer shifts to guard the deeper water lane. Every ship is now leaning into a layered shield around the big deck. Above them, the Seahawk finally goes active. The dipping sonar splashes down, and the passive world of whispers becomes an aggressive picture of reality. Ping, return, water column, bottom, contact. The board lights up with certainty. Sierra 3 is classified. Submarine. It's real, it's there, and it's moving close enough to matter. The captain doesn't waste a second. Warning localization. Put it on him. The order goes to the helo. No weapon release, no attack. Just a precise signal delivered in the only language submariners truly understand. We have your position. Moments later, a practice localization charge hits the sea. The water thumps with a controlled concussion. It's not meant to kill, but it's meant to be heard loud and clear inside the enemy hull. Sierra 3 reacts instantly. Contact turning hard starboard, speed increasing. The submarine had been stalking, but now it's maneuvering away from the signal. It's not running blind, but it's abandoning the clean approach it had been building. Almost immediately, Sierra 1 drops deeper, trying to bury itself beneath the thermal layer. Sierra 2 holds slow and quiet, no longer advancing with the same confidence. The pressure has reached all 3 boats. The US Navy is no longer just reacting, it is shaping the fight. But the danger isn't over, because Sierra 2, the quiet one, has completely stopped making sense. The sonar chief stares at the board. He should be farther away by now. This is the problem with submarines. The most dangerous one isn't the loudest. It's the one that stops behaving logically. Sierra 2 isn't getting stronger, and it's not getting weaker. It's holding. The tactical officer draws a new line through the contact and across the carrier's projected track. He says nothing for 3 full seconds. If Sierra 2 is where they think he is, he's no longer outside the formation. He's near the corridor the carrier is about to enter. He's already in the kill zone, and the clock is ticking. On the carrier's flight deck, all activity pauses. It's not a visible emergency, just a subtle hold that only a professional would notice. Overhead, the sky is bright and the sea is calm, but the rhythm has shifted into a higher gear. The captain makes the call for a second Seahawk. It spins up from a neighboring escort, its rotors flashing as it claws into the air. The first helo stays on Sierra 3, while the second goes hunting for the ghost that nobody has a clean picture on. The anti-submarine web widens, closing the empty patch of water that has now become the most dangerous place on Earth. More sonobuoys hit the water in a staggered pattern ahead of the carrier. The destroyers adjust again, pulling steel and sensors between the carrier and the suspected firing line. This is how the Navy moves under pressure, not with panic, but with geometry. Suddenly, a transient hits buoy 6. Short duration, could be a ballast shift. Then buoy 7 picks it up. Same bearing. The sonar chief's voice is flat. That's him. Sierra 2 didn't get there by luck. He worked his way there quietly while the others created a distraction. He was patient enough to arrive nearly unseen, drifting toward the kill lane. The distance is too close for comfort. Nobody is pretending this is just shadowing anymore. The captain recommends a course adjustment, a controlled 10-degree starboard drift. The carrier executes it instantly. Even a small change in heading ruins a submarine's timing and forces a total recalculation. The second Seahawk drops lower and goes active. A hard electronic pulse ripples through the water, and the board blooms with a bright, unmistakable return. Sierra 2 is inside the inner screen. The room doesn't erupt, but it tightens. The submarine has breached the shield, and the threat is now immediate. Inside the destroyer's combat information center, the air gets colder. Nobody screams. Nobody needs to. Every watchstander knows what these waters mean. The captain steps closer to the screen, his face a mask of calculated ice. Reclassify. Down in sonar, the operator leans into his headset, filtering out the hum of the ship. The sound is there again, a low, disciplined shaft rhythm, then a pulse. It's metal, not nature. It's machinery, not chance. The contact is holding depth with a signature so low it's almost invisible. This is a ghost in the water, and it's not alone. Warning marker. Put it on him now. Seconds later, a practice depth marker splashes right on top of Sierra 2's position. It's a humiliating signal. We see you. You are too close. You do not own this water. For 2 seconds, nothing happens. Then Sierra 2 moves. Contact accelerating. Hard port. Dropping depth. It's the reaction they needed. The submarine has been exposed and forced to maneuver abruptly. It had to choose between pressing the attack or surviving, and it chose survival. The captain watches the new line bend away from the carrier. He was committed, the chief whispers. No one argues. The geometry the submarine spent 30 minutes building is now in ruins. Sierra 2 is moving off-axis, Sierra 3 is drifting wider under pressure, and Sierra 1 is deeper but no longer synchronized. The carrier strike group isn't reacting to a trap anymore, it's breaking it. The captain orders the team to hold pressure on number 2 and keep number 3 outside the lane. Above the water, the strike group continues pushing through the strait. The carrier remains the center of gravity, huge and steady, while the escorts shift like muscles tightening around a bone. This is what total control looks like. By 0643, the flight deck begins to breathe again. The giant ship is moving with its normal tempo, though the danger hasn't vanished. In the CIC, nobody celebrates. That's for amateurs. Instead, they keep working the board, tracking every knot and every ballast correction. Sierra 2 is opening range, Sierra 3 is stable in the outer screen, and Sierra 1 is no longer closing. $3 billion submarines entered the strait with a plan to corner a US carrier. They had the spacing, the patience, and the surprise. But they lost the one thing a submarine can never afford to lose, their invisibility. As the carrier pushes farther east, the submarines recede into the acoustic distance. They came for the carrier, and they left with their positions exposed to the world. There were no missiles fired and no steel broken, but the victory was absolute. In the world of high-stakes naval warfare, control isn't always about who fires first. It's about who owns the map. The Iranian subs tried to dictate the terms of the encounter, but they were forced to back out under the weight of superior discipline. The trap was averted, the carrier moved on, and the silent war beneath the waves returned to its uneasy shadow. 30 seconds pass in absolute silence. Then, a second operator turns in his chair. Additional contact, bearing 114, faint transient. The room goes even quieter. 2 contacts in these cramped waters could be a mistake or bad geometry, but the third call changes everything. Con, sonar, third possible subsurface contact, bearing 062. 3 separate bearings, 3 separate lines of approach. All of them are converging on the same stretch of water directly ahead of the carrier. No one says the word trap out loud, but every eye in the room is staring at the same terrifying conclusion. The tactical action officer studies the spacing on the screen. This isn't random traffic, this is a formation. The captain nods, his voice flat and clinical. On the carrier, the bridge receives the update in clipped language. Possible triple subsurface picture. The reply is just as cold. Carrier copies. Maintain screen integrity. This is how the US Navy sounds when the temperature hits the boiling point. No shouting, no wasted energy, just decisions being made at the speed of light. The shield is changing shape, tightening the geometry around the carrier as the formation continues its lawful but dangerous path forward. Below the deck, the acoustic data begins to sharpen into a nightmare. Sierra 1 adjusts its depth, Sierra 2 slows down, Sierra 3 keeps closing. This is the detail that changes the rules of engagement. Civilian traffic doesn't move in 3 separate lanes with this kind of synchronized spacing. One contact is holding back while the others test the angles around the high-value ship. The intelligence specialist brings up the library, comparing propeller blade counts and shaft revolutions. The software suggests a match, but the captain wants human ears. The senior sonar chief listens for 6 seconds and delivers the verdict. Possible Iranian boats. The realization lands hard. Ahead, the Strait of Hormuz narrows like a funnel of heat and steel. Tankers move in distant lanes, oblivious to the drama unfolding beneath the waves. Somewhere under that bright, ordinary water, 3 submarines are maneuvering to checkmate a US aircraft carrier. At 0617, the order goes out to the Seahawk detachment. Flight deck crews move instantly, tie-downs are ripped off, and rotors begin to unfold. The helicopter crew jogs in low and fast, survival vests clipped, movement sharpened by thousands of hours of repetition. They know exactly what 3 subsurface contacts in these waters means. In the darkness of the CIC, Sierra 3 changes its bearing. It's crossing toward the carrier's projected line of travel. This is a direct challenge. The tactical officer traces the angle with his finger. It's not a direct intercept yet, but it's close enough to force a reaction. The captain makes the call, launch the helo, first buoy pattern forward of Sierra 3. On the flight deck, the rotor wash tears across the surface as the Seahawk lifts clean. Its mission isn't to attack, at least not yet. First, it has to find them, classify them, and make it unmistakably clear that the carrier screen has eyes that see through the deep. 6 miles out, the first sonobuoy hits the sea and vanishes into a ring of white foam. A new channel opens across the acoustic board. Fresh water, fresh geometry, and a much cleaner sound. The Seahawk is in the fight now, laying a search pattern that turns the open sea into a grid of listening posts. Buoy 1 active, buoy 2 passive, the feed is clean. The destroyer's captain stands with his hand on a chair, eyes fixed on the 3 symbols. Sierra 1, 2, and 3 are still there, still separated, still moving exactly where they should not be. The carrier continues ahead, its massive hull throwing up a disciplined bow wake. The acoustic picture suddenly sharpens with a terrifying clarity. Sierra 2 is slowing down. A submarine at transit speed makes noise, but a submarine slowing to a near-silent approach is a predator preparing to strike. The machinery quiets, the cavitation fades. The signature gets harder to hear, which makes it infinitely more dangerous. It means the boat is no longer just moving, it is thinking. The senior sonar chief leans forward, his voice barely a whisper. He's cleaning up for a better solution. No one asks what kind of solution he means. In this environment, a solution usually involves a torpedo.